When a student's rights are wrong, this is my Module 14 case study, and I am Tiffany Coral. Section 1, it is a summary of the case study. This case study takes place at Nottingham High School. It's part of the Dover community. There are approximately 3,200 students that attend the high school. There's one high school for the entire community. The building was constructed in the 1950s. Most of it has been reconstructed, so it is up to code. About a fourth of the building is not up to code, and it still needs further construction to meet criteria. The overall school community is very supportive. A lot of the community comes in and provides additional services and support to the school. Another big factor in the community is the football team. On Fridays, the majority of the school community does come out and support the football team in their winning. Some of the facts about the case. This case is around Miguel Hernandez. He is a sophomore at the high school. He is the quarterback. He is very talented. He was the first quarterback since the 1960s to be a sophomore and be a starter. During a football game, he was injured, making the winning throwing touchdown pass. He now is a wheelchair user and is paralyzed from the waist down. Before returning to school, Miguel did receive services and therapy. He's now planning on returning to school, but before doing so, his parents do meet with the school counselor, Miss Guzman, about him returning, and he does plan on returning once he does receive that physician's excuse to come back to school, and that's about 2 weeks after. Miguel's return to school, he comes in and he is greeted with an assembly to basically say welcome back and to show his accomplishments and his commitment to the school and dedication to improving his well-being, although he is now in a wheelchair. Part of his wheelchair accessibility makes him unable to go to his science course. In this case, the counselor switches his course to another science course. The problem with switching the course, it is no longer biology, so it is not a college prep, which is required for him to take. Following that day, the Hernandez family does contact the school to set up a meeting with the principal. Basically, they want to know why his schedule was changed without consent. Why weren't they notified about the change? They requested that he be put back into the biology class. At this time, that's not possible because it is not wheelchair accessible. They also mentioned about the university. He wants to go to college, and to do so, he needs this biology course. Ultimately, they're pretty upset about what has happened on his return to school. During the meeting, the father does bring in attorney Harold Carey. He is the family attorney, and he mentions several things, including Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act, and also about the FAPE, which is also very important. Upon this, me as the principal, I would definitely be trying to make the parents happy as well as Miguel, because the school and myself could be facing many liability issues and a lawsuit. Reporting is Section 2. Basically, what is happening in this scenario is that the free appropriate public education, as the attorney mentioned, it is not being followed. He's not receiving the appropriate education. He wants to take the biology course, and basically the counselor is changing it, and it's making it not appropriate for him. He wants to take the course. He should be able to take the course no matter what his disability is. Those services must be provided to him. Part of Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act basically states that No matter if someone does have a disability, they are guaranteed the same civil rights as someone who does not. In this case, Miguel is not receiving his civil rights. They are being taken away from him based on him being a wheelchair user. At this time, Nottingham High School is showing discrimination against Miguel, and me as the principal, I must take action immediately to change this and resolve the conflict. Section 3, synthesize the facts. Let's focus here on the people first. Miguel, he is the main student in this case. He is the wheelchair user. He's paralyzed from the waist down. The main issue here is he wants to be taking the biology course that was originally part of his schedule, and this was taken away from him. His parents, Mr. and Mrs. Hernandez, they are upset. They want something to be done about this. In return, they have brought in an attorney, Howard Carey, to make sure the necessary changes are made. The counselor that made these changes is Miss Guzman. She changed his biology course to just a general sophomore science class, but it does not go along with his college preparation to attend university. And me as the principal, I have met with the upset parents, and now it's my duty to take action to make them happy and do what's best for the student and the school at this time. Places, in this case, this is taking place at Nottingham School. It is an urban community in Dover. Most of what's taking place is in classroom. The big issue here is the biology room. So far, the parents have met in the office, as well as Miguel has met with the counselor in her office, and the classrooms will come into play here in a little bit. Programs, he is a 10th grade student. He is on the college preparatory courses. He wants to attend university. And again, the big issue here is the biology prep course versus the general 10th grade class. As of now, Nottingham High School is known for their excellent programs and services to all students, and we want to keep that standard, and we don't want the community to see a negative impact based on this one scenario. Synthesize the facts continued. Ms. Guzman, she did meet with Mrs. Hernandez prior to Miguel returning. During their meeting, Mrs. Hernandez did let Ms. Guzman know that her son would be using a wheelchair, but she did not mention at that time anything about his class needing to be changed due to that. She did not notify the parents of the change, nor did she notify me, the principal. Mrs. and Mr. Hernandez did bring an attorney during their meeting with me. Again, they are upset and they feel that their child is being discriminated against. I have met with the parents once as well as the attorney. I have not met with Miguel at this time, and he is not present for the parent meeting. Some unknown facts and questions that need to be addressed during this case. They do not mention in the case study if the superintendent is aware, that is Dr. Harvey. He needs to be made aware of the situation if he is not already. Science teachers in the scenario, they need to be brought in as well because they are probably going to be impacted by any change that is made. Mrs. and Mr. Hernandez, we don't know if they are willing to discuss making changes without their lawyer present or without a lawsuit. At this time, we just know that they brought an attorney to the meeting. So we do know that they are serious about taking action. We do not know if there are any empty classrooms that are wheelchair accessible that would be easily to move the biology course to. Additionally, we are unaware if there are available grants to reconstruct that part of the building that needs updates to be up to code. And also, the most important question is we do not know Miguel's thoughts at this time. How is he feeling about this change? We want him to, again, have that equality and to feel welcome at the school by all means. And we don't want him to feel discriminated. So again, this needs to be taken care of immediately. Section 4, review and prioritize. First, you want to focus on the child, Miguel. He is being discriminated against at this time based on him having to change classes because he is using a wheelchair. He's not receiving FAPE, and he could lose the opportunity to attend the university if this is not dealt with accordingly. Mr. and Mrs. Hernandez, they were not um, informed, and they did not give consent to make any changes to Miguel's schedule prior to him returning or when he does return. Again, they are upset about the change that was made. The counselor, Mrs. Gonsman, after this is taken care of, she needs to be addressed as to what should have been done differently, and actions need to be taken to resolve the conflict with her. Me as the principal, I could be facing, as well as the school, a lawsuit liability if the appropriate action is not taken at this time. And again, the superintendent, Dr. Harvey, he should by this time be made aware of the issue, and he needs to be available to take an action plan, as well as any meetings that he needs to attend based on the conflict at this time. As well as science teachers, they should be notified to let them know there's a possibility that they will be changing classes based on Miguel and his needs and the services that he requires. At this time, Miguel and his family could damage the community's view of the school if the correct action is not taken. It needs to be addressed in a timely fashion, and me as the principal, I plan to do so. Section 5, available options. I have 5 options. Option 1, do nothing. Let Miguel finish the school year in the general science classroom. Don't talk to the Hernandez family anymore, and let the attorney go about what he plans on doing. Action 2, finding the funds and grants to completely build an entirely new school because it is not up to code. Action 3, renovate the portion of the building that is not up to code and wheelchair accessible. Action 4 would be to switch the classroom of the biology class to make it wheelchair accessible for Miguel. And action 4, he could take an online cyber biology course in the office or other wheelchair accessible area during that period of time. Section 6, evaluate options. Option 1, the no action. Pros, it's the easiest option for me right now, but cons in the long run, I could face liability issues, a lawsuit. So ultimately that option is probably out. Option 2, build an entirely new school. Pros, this would meet the needs of Miguel long term, but not right now. Cons, it is also very expensive and it would be a long process. It would probably not be done this school year, maybe even next. Option 3, renovating the portion of the school that is not up to code. This does meet the needs of Miguel, but it's in a long term. It's not going to fix the problem right now. Again, it is also expensive and it would be a long process as well. Option 4 is to switch classrooms. This could be done immediately. This would meet the needs of Miguel, and this would also help the school to avoid any liability or lawsuits they would face. Cons to this would be the teacher's frustration. They would have to change classrooms. This would take some extra time by them and probably the custodial staff. And this is not a long-term fix for the code violations that the school does have with the non-reconstructed area of the school. Option 5 is the cyber course option. This would be immediate action for Miguel. This again would avoid most liability and lawsuits. The problem with this is the child, Miguel, he would be basically excluded from the classroom, which is not necessarily the best option for him. And you do not know if this would appease Miguel's parents or the attorney's needs and wants. Section 7, the best option. The best option for Miguel, I believe, at this time and for my school district would be to change the classroom that the biology course is in. Find a classroom that is handicapped accessible. If there is no classrooms, then 2 teachers would probably have to switch. But again, this would help the school to not face any liability or lawsuit issues. And this would also ensure that the highest quality of education is being available to Miguel and he's not being excluded at any time.